Hello students, in the last video we discussed introduction to Western philosophy. Now very quickly we will get into this lecture and we will start discussing the various schools of Western philosophy in detail. So I told you before that there are five major schools of philosophy. There is idealism, humanism, naturalism, pragmatism and realism. We'll begin with idealism. Now, since Plato is the founder, we could say, of idealism, he can be called the father of idealism. So, he stated this view about 400 years BC in his famous book, The Republic. Plato believed that there are two worlds, the spiritual or mental world and the world of appearance. He described a utopian society in which education to body and soul, all the beauty and perfection of which they are capable, as an ideal. In his allegory of the cave, the shadows of the scenery world must be overcome with the light of reason or universal truth. Now, many other thinkers have reflected upon idealism, and some, like D.N. Datta, suggest that idealism holds the ultimate reality as spiritual, and so forth. Now, we have various characteristics of idealism. Let's discuss some. So, the first one is God is the supreme source of all formations in the universe and the only source that possesses all knowledge. Mind and soul constitute the reality of life. God is the creator of human beings, which is the best creation. Physical universe or materials are virtual and fragile. Idealism supports and elevates human character. It is the unity of diversities. It favors moral education rather than the common knowledge. Rational enlightenment is the source of true knowledge. Reality exists in mind, not in the physical environment, and so forth. Now, in all, we could discuss the principle of idealism into six statements, so to say. So, the fundamental principles of idealism are two forms of the whole world that we have already discussed while discussing the definition given by Plato. Secondly, it says ideas are more important than objects because Plato says ideas are of the ultimate cosmic significance. They are rather the essence or archetypes which give form to cosmos. These ideas are eternal and unchanging. Thirdly, importance of man over nature. To idealists, man is more important because man can think and experience about material objects. Hence, the thinker or the one who experiences is more important than the object or the experience which is being experienced. Fourthly, faith in spiritual values. According to idealists, prime aim of life is to achieve spiritual values such as truth, beauty, and goodness. Next, we have importance of personality development, and lastly, we have full support to the principle of unity in diversity. So, this belief again is of spiritual nature. This may be called universal consciousness or divinity. Let's discuss the forms of idealism. So, there's personalistic idealism. Berkeley only accepts the actuality of mind, the qualities and attributes are mental in nature. Then there's absolute idealism. So, Hegel and Fichte are the proponents of this philosophy, absolute idealism, which is based on the fact that only the soul is the real truth, since every process in this world is regulated by some laws. Then there's objective idealism, which Plato regarded as one of the earliest representations. According to this, all of reality is based on the perception of a single mind. Then we've got phenomenal idealism, proposed by Kant, who says that it is only the phenomena of reality, original or absolute reality cannot be known as it is beyond our capability. Then there's modern idealism, which is also known as the philosophy of idealism, has given a different perspective to the existing idealism. So, the eye of idealism represents euphony. The knowledge that the individual possesses is only the basic idea of the existing environment. The truth of environment cannot be ascertained neither by its intermediary idea nor by knowing directly. Now, idealism and education. So, aims of education according to Plato said that education is for individuals' personal betterment And the following aims of education, according to the philosophy of idealism, are universal education, self realization to ensure spiritual development, development of intelligence and rationality as well. Then, this transmission and promotion of cultural heritage, cultivation of moral values, preparation for holy life, and cultivation of truth, beauty, and goodness. Now, there are stages of education as well. From age 7 to 18, they're expected to study general mathematics, music, astronomy, and so on. From age 18 to 20, physical training. From 20 to 30, study of logic, knighthood, and mathematics. 30 to 35, study of dialectics. 35 to 50, practice of dialectics. And 50 years and later, a person can become a philosopher, a king, or as his turn comes. But the stages of education are more apt for the time period he belonged to. But again, it is still very relevant in some terms. The impact of idealism on education. So, the view of Plato about curriculum was that the aim of life is to realize God, which is possibly only by pursuing high ideals. Three types of activities, namely intellectual, aesthetic, and moral, can attain these high ideals, which are truth, beauty, and goodness. Then there's view of Herbert about curriculum. So according to him, idealistic aim of education is promotion of moral values. He gave prime importance to subjects like literature, history, art, music, etc. Idealism has an impact on teaching method as well. So there's lecture method and there's Socratic method of dialogue. In the lecture method, it is considered the most important one since teacher delivers lecture and students listen. Teacher selects topic wisely. First, he teaches the topic, then asks the questions about that topic. Students answer the asked question. Teacher provides feedback. This is a teacher-centered approach, though. Socratic method, which has focus on dialogues. This suits idealism the most, as the teacher involves the students in learning activities. The teacher raises the issue and students are encouraged to discuss it in a dialogue form and reach to a conclusion. Idealism and teacher. So, idealism assigns a special role to the teacher. It considers teacher as a spiritual guide for the child. The teacher serves as living model. He sets the environment, carries the child from darkness to light, guide the students towards utmost possible perfection. By this own model of life, he tries to shape the individuality of child to a life of purity, virtue, and great achievements. Now, idealism and student. There's a belief in idealists that the student has to develop an unlimited soul from a limited one by adopting regular instruction so that the student achieves eternal powers. We also have impact of idealism on discipline. So punishment will be given if the student does a wrong act, and no rewards will be given for the right activities, as it is the prime responsibility of the development of spirit. Idealists also believe that there will be no development of spirit in the students if discipline is not acquainted. The vital factors of discipline include self regulation and self analysis. Self discipline in the student can be developed by the behavior and qualities of the teacher. We also have the impact of idealism on school. So, school is considered as a place where students develop their mental abilities and values through proper guidance and regulation. Idealism suggests that the disciplinary environment of the school and proper guidance of the teacher should essentially be present for the overall spiritual development of students. In terms of assessment, it asks for teachers to focus on collective attention, examining their assumptions, and creating a shared culture dedicated to continuously improving the quality of higher learning. Now, as you can see, we've nearly discussed all the impacts of idealism on education. There are both merits and demerits of the same. Now, some of the merits can be that its contributions to educational thoughts are solid and profound, that the aim of education is perfection of the individual, which is mostly very apt. Then, idealism leads to spiritual insight. and highest moral and spiritual conduct. It lays stress on self realization, simple living, and high thinking. It also prepares us for both heavenly life and life on earth. It is providing a significant place to teacher and to the student as well, but it places teacher in next to the god. Also, idealism gives importance to development of human personality and such. Demerits of idealism include that it is a bit abstract, there's figment of imagination and impractical things included. It neglects the psychological nature of child, and then it also ignores material world and stresses more on the spiritual world. It assigns too much importance to teachers and places them next to god. So the same merits can also be, included, can be seen as the demerits from a different perspective. Then it also does not take note of the individual differences and special abilities of the students. It pays less attention to physical, industrial, social, and electronic environment. It fails to have a significant method of teaching, and it regards the highest values such as truth, beauty, goodness as permanent and immortal, but in reality, they're not absolute and they may change with time and environment. That's all for this topic, and we have completed idealism. In the next class, we are going to begin with naturalism. We have significantly discussed idealism in very detail, and yet, if you have any doubts or queries, you are very much welcome. In the next video, we are going to begin with naturalism, and we will cover the rest of the four schools of Western philosophy.